Hello World, Shelly here, and it is lucky day 13 of the Foundation Mega Fest, 15 days in a row of Foundation reviews, as always inspired by Thetela's 15 Days of Foundation. If you don't currently follow her, I've got her linked down below. Everybody follows Thetela, but just in case you don't, today I'm taking a look at a foundation that you guys requested in the comments. It is the Dermablend Smooth Camo Foundation. This retails for $38 for 1 fluid ounce of product in a squeezy tube. It's currently getting 4 out of 5 stars on Ulta's website with 687 reviews in so far. It comes in 14 different shades on Ulta's website, but I see 15 shades on the Dermablend website, so we're going to call it 15. This does have an SPF 25 mineral sunscreen. It is an oil-based foundation, so it's a mineral oil base. So you're going to want to use either an oil-based primer or a silicone-based primer with it. If you have a water-based primer, it might not play well with this foundation. The ingredients do not list any additional fragrance, though this is not a vegan formula. Dermablend is not a cruelty-free brand. They do not test their ingredients or products in the US on animals, but they do sell in China, therefore they are not cruelty-free. However, they do claim that Dermablend is the most active of the brands within the L'Oreal parent company in working directly with the Chinese government to eliminate animal testing. So props for that, but they are not currently a cruelty-free brand. This is listed as a 16-hour wear foundation with medium coverage that offers invisible, weightless coverage that appears as skin, not makeup. Blendable, even skin tone, minimizes fine lines and wrinkles, instantly camouflages imperfections. It's formulated with Camo Pigments technology. It's got hydration and pigment levels to allow the skin to feel smooth and silky for 16 hours of consistent color wear with broad spectrum SPF 25, ideal for all skin types. The instructions recommend using fingertips or a sponge. I will of course be using a sponge and a brush just to see how it works on either side of the spectrum. So let's take a look at the shades. I've got this in the shade Linen, the lightest shade. It is number 0C. Now, if you have other Dermablend foundations, their numbering scheme for the Smooth Camo does fall in line with their typical numbering scheme, so their zeros are fair. Starting at 25 in the Smooth Camo line, that is where they start with their lightness, their light version. They've got some medium and tan, and then they have one dark shade in this variety. But if you are familiar with the Dermablend numbering system, 0C is their fair, cool undertone, and it is consistent with their other foundation shade numbers. Let's take a look at this one swatched against some others in my collection. Let's swatch. First up is today's foundation, the Dermablend Smooth Camo in shade Linen, which is number 0 Cool. Next is the MAC Studio Fix Fluid in shade NW10. You can tell the MAC version of Cool is a little bit more pink undertoned, where the Dermablend is a little more peachy pink. Third is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place in 1C1 Cool Bone. Fourth is the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Foundation in the shade Light, just for comparison. And last up, I've got the Too Faced Born This Way foundation in the shade Snow, which is pretty similar in undertone to the Dermablend. So if you match Too Faced Snow, I'd say the Dermablend is just a smidge darker, but the same undertone as the Too Faced. I am starting out with a 43-year-old face. Hey! I've got some sun damage on this side of my face that I like to cover up, sunspots, additional texture. I do have enlarged pores, especially right here next to my nose and on my cheeks, my chin, and I've got some in the center of my forehead. I do have fine lines, nice formed smile lines. I got some forehead wrinkles that I am trying to cover up and minimize and hide. My skin is typically normal to dry. This time of year it's very normal in terms of its hydration levels. I do take extra steps in my morning and evening skincare to hydrate my skin, but it is very prone to dehydration. So if there are any ingredients in a product that suck the moisture out of my skin, it will definitely show that by the end of the night. And wintertime, I'm very dry, but right now we're doing A-okay. I am going to go in on one side of my face with a sponge. This is the Real Techniques MCS Miracle Complexion Sponge. The other side I've got a brush. This is my e.l.f. Ultimate Blending Brush. We will see if one way or the other produces better or different results. I have already primed with my Strivectin Line Blur Factor, and I've also primed my under eyes with my Becca Anti-Fatigue Under Eye Primer. Look how smooth. Just smooths out that crepiness, guys. Mwah. Let's put on the Magic Cat Ears of Power. I like to shake my foundations. I don't know if you're supposed to shake it first, but I'll shake it. I didn't hear anything. You know, I prefer a pump. You guys know this by now if you've seen any of my other foundation reviews. I like that you can measure how much product you're getting out. So like if you become familiar with it, you know, like I only need a pump and a half in that foundation. You know, squeezy tube, it's hard to determine how much product you're getting out of the tube. It's hard to be consistent. I don't like to waste product, but at least it keeps your grubby paws out of the formula, which is good. Let's see how this one looks. Relatively thick formula here. A little bit of product goes a long way with this one. I am having to pounce out a bit more in order to get this to blend, just because it is a thicker formula, but I wouldn't say I'm having trouble blending. It's just taking a little bit of work. And I do think that this has very, very nicely canceled out redness in one pass with the sponge. It has done a really nice job with canceling redness. And I'd say we're at a light medium coverage on one pass with the sponge. Let's check the brush side and see how that does. I think the brush side is blending out just fine as well. I feel like the coverage is just about the same on either side. It's probably a little bit faster with the brush, but maybe I like the finish a tiny, tiny bit more with the sponge. But honestly, if you have a preference one way or the other, I'd say go for it either way you prefer. I think they look equally nice. I'm really happy with the coverage right off the bat with just that little amount of product. I'm just gonna even out. I've got a little speck of where I'm missing coverage right above my eyebrows. I don't even see very much of my sunspots poking through, so I really think I could go out like this. I just put a smidge more on my fingertip, and I'm just gonna get a couple of the spots that stuff likes to show through. I have this wonderful blood vessel that runs right through my face here. It never wants to hide. It wants to be front and center of attention. Look at me, I'm a giant blood vessel for no apparent reason. Sun keeps moving around. I'm trying not to blind you guys with these lights here. I feel like the product is settling into my pores just a little bit in a couple of spots. So if we look up close, my chin has just a tiny bit of redness poking through. That just seems to be the norm for me lately. The product is, I think, doing a pretty decent job of blurring texture, but around my side of my face, my right side, the non-nose ring side of my face, the product on my pores just around my cheek and my nose, the product is settling into those pores right along my smile lines, those pores right there. It's not doing it on the sponge side of my face, and I have gone back and used a sponge to try to fix that on the brush side of my face, so I don't know if that has to do with using the brush for application or if it's just a tendency of this product. My nose doesn't look super great. It's just sort of sitting on my nose in a few spots. In between my eyebrows looks fine. It's not clinging to any texture there. I'm getting just a smidge of settling into my forehead lines. We'll see if we can tap that out as we go. Overall, I would call this like a demi-matte finish. It's pretty matte, but it's not flat. It is a nice, natural matte looking finish. A little bit cakey around my nose here. I think the color match right off the bat is pretty good. It's They claim it's a cool undertone, but I don't see much pink to this. So to me, this looks like much closer to a neutral undertone. They only have neutral and cool available in their fair shades, and this is not a super light shade. So I feel like if you are more pale than me, then this is going to probably be a little bit too dark for you. Just looking at how well I think it's matching at my level of paleness, I'm fair, but I'm not usually very fair. I'm just regular fair. Time check. Let's call it 1 p.m. and I'm going to go put the rest of my face on and I'll be right back. Hey, Gold Eye Look is out to play! I had zero trouble blending concealer into this foundation. I used the Kat Von D Lock It in shade L5 Neutral and no issues blending product on top. I did set it with the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish because, gotta be honest witches, it was looking a bit dry. Now I know this seems counterintuitive, but this particular powder, for some reason, if my foundation is looking dry and a little bit lifeless, this stuff perks it up, smooths it out, brings it back to life. But I can tell my skin is already a little bit dehydrated. Like for a oil-based foundation, I'm really surprised how quickly my skin seems to be drying out with this. But this definitely saved the day in terms of making it look more smooth and less dry on my skin. So that's happening. I do love this stuff. You know, it's hyped, and at least on my skin, the hype is real. It's worth it. On the rest of my face, my bronzer is the Balm Desert. My blush is Tarte in Exposed. This one's so pretty for fair skin, you guys. It's a little bit of a cool undertone, which doesn't go with this look perfectly, but the thing is, it's like, it's cool, but it can lean neutral depending what you do with the rest of your face. And since I used it with a red undertoned bronzer, I think it looks really pretty. Great for fair skin. My highlight is Becca in Opal, which is usually a little too dark for my skin tone, but since I've got the gold eye going on, I think it's working. And my eyes are the Hush Bad Habit Aphrodite palette. If you missed my unboxing and swatches of all of my Hush palettes that Hush sent to me, I will put that link here. And digging the heck out of this. It's a dupe for the Huda Rose Gold palette, and I am obsessed, and I don't use that word lightly, with the Bad Habit eyeshadow palettes. The quality is wonderful, and I cannot stop reaching for them, which is why you're going to see all kinds of videos using these palettes. I just filmed this eye look with the Aphrodite palette, so you will see that on my channel soon if I haven't posted it already. Mascara was Butter London Double Decker. Is that all I used on my face? I think that's it. Physicians Formula Ultra Black Liner. Oh, brow. Kat Von D Signature Brow Pencil in Walnut. So there you have it. That's what we are starting out with. I will be back in a few hours with a daylight check-in. I gotta hurry up and get out of here and catch some Pokemon. I am filming this on the Pokemon Go Community Day in May, and I'm gonna go catch some Pokemon. I will be back in a bit with a daylight check-in, and I'll come back at the end of the night with my final thoughts. Hey guys, it has been about 5.5 hours now, and the foundation is holding up pretty well, I would say. It has gotten dewy. Like, it looks quite dewy, which is a lot different than it looked when we first applied it. And I generally like it. It looks a little bit heavy, but it doesn't feel heavy. It feels about average in terms of the weight on my skin, I would say, but overall pretty good. Of course, as soon as I come out here, the sun comes out and it's super bright, but the rain is finally ending. Yay! But here is the color match, which I think is generally pretty good. This is not a very pink undertone, and you know, it still works for me. I'm generally neutral. I can lean cool or warm depending if I have any sun or not. I prefer the look of a cool undertone. This is slightly cool, but not as pink as most things that are described as cool, I would say. But here you go. Here's as much close-up as I can muster with this camera. So there you have it. That's about 5 hours and 20 minutes in right now, and I'll be back tonight with my final thoughts. It's 11:25 in the PM. That puts us just past the 10-hour mark. Let's take a look at how the Dermablend, whoa, Smooth Camo foundation is holding up. You know, some foundations degrade gracefully and wear off gracefully over time. I don't think this foundation is one of them. If we take a look, the foundation on my chin has worn off pretty well. There's a lot of red splotchiness, but additionally on the movement lines along my chin and along the sides of my mouth, it is either completely worn away or it is completely broken apart at those movement lines. It's caking up and gathering because it has broken apart. As we go up around the nose, it's completely worn away around my nostrils, and I did not blow my nose at all today. In fact, I cannot wait to take this off my face and blow my nose. The foundation is settling into the pores on my nose. I'm getting polka dot pores, I'm getting caking around the nostrils, and along the tip of my nose actually, which is kind of bizarre. Along the sides of my nose, on my cheeks, the foundation is caking up and just sitting on top of the skin, very scaly-like. My blush, bronzer, highlight are all still pretty well in place, but as we keep going, actually the texture in between my eyebrows doesn't look too bad. It's just breaking apart along those movement lines. My forehead still looks okay. I did not have additional trouble with settling into the lines on my forehead, but my skin does feel very, very dry. I'm very surprised at an oil-based foundation making my skin feel so dry because, you know, mineral oil is one of those ingredients that it's not going to penetrate the skin. The molecule is too large to penetrate the skin. So since I did have all of my skincare and all of my moisturizer on before I put this foundation on, in theory, the mineral oil in this foundation should have created a barrier that would kind of seal in all of my product, all of my moisturizer and all of that. So it definitely didn't do that. My skin's been pretty well dry all day. It's starting to feel itchy and tight at this point in the evening. It's not the most drying foundation I've ever worn, but it's pretty drying. I would call it, you know, not slightly drying, but drying. Not very drying, but just, it's drying. It's definitely drying. It's accentuating my crow's feet and some of my fine lines because of that, because when the skin gets dehydrated, you start to see the texture. When your skin is nice and plumped with moisture, it plumps out some of those fine wrinkles and fine lines. You know, the deeper ones, of course, aren't going to get plumped out just because you've heavily moisturized, but the very, very fine lines do. And I find that, especially on my cheek here, the very, very fine lines, if my skin is properly hydrated, you can't see them. But when it starts to get dehydrated, you see all the little lines. And my skin is definitely dehydrated at this point. If I had to give a grade to the Dermablend Smooth Camo, I'm going to go D+. I don't really like it, and I think it's below average in terms of performance on dry, maturing skin. It doesn't have a fantastic shade range, even though the shades are easy to figure out if you already know your Dermablend shade. I'm just not in love with it. It's not super comfortable. It doesn't wear very well over time. It accentuates the things that we're trying to hide at the 40-plus-ish age range. Yeah, I'm kind of bummed because I really thought this one was going to kind of go the distance a little bit better than it did. But that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to go D+ on the Dermablend Smooth Camo Foundation. Not the worst thing I've ever worn. Not really great. Probably won't reach for it. Yeah, there you have it. Lucky day 13 of the Foundation Mega Fest is in the books. If you enjoy foundation reviews or you had fun watching this one, give me a thumbs up down below. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Of course, Foundation Mega Fest is every single day for 15 days in a row. If you're watching this in real time, keep on watching. They're going to post all the way through June 22nd, 2018, 9 p.m. Eastern time. You can always leave me a comment with suggestions for foundations you would like to see me review. I keep a running list and grab them every time that I can. Go check out my website, geekoutofwater.com. Click the Foundation Fest link. You'll find a ranked, sortable, searchable spreadsheet of all of my foundation reviews. Hang tight for the ones that are happening during this MegaFest. Those will all be posted at the end of the MegaFest because I don't want to put any spoilers up there and ruin the rest of the foundation reviews for you guys. So, that's my spiel. I hope you all have an awesome day or night wherever you are in the world. Thanks a lot for taking some time out of your day to geek out over makeup with me. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.